You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the March 10th meeting for the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening, everyone. At this time, I would like to call to order the meeting of the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission. Today is March 10th, Monday, 5 o'clock. We apologize for the delay in starting this meeting because of the executive session that went overtime previous to this. Let's take attendance. We have a new member, Phil Latchford. Unfortunately, Mr. Latchford had to be absent at this meeting. Clarence Hulse.
Here.
Sheila Brilson Matias, I am present. Tracy Tillman.
Present.
Sherry Wilson.
Present.
Tom Domkowski.
Present.
We have 5 members are present out of the 6. Pardon me? I know, but we consider him a member because he's such a good contributor.
Absolutely.
At this time, I would like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes. We have minutes from the executive session on February 6th and the minutes from the regular hybrid meeting on February 6th as well.
I'd like to make the motion to accept the minutes for the executive session and the regular hybrid meeting on February the 6th as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion. May I have a second?
Support.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to accept the meeting minutes of both executive and hybrid meeting on February 6th. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you. Next, we have the claims. The claims for February 6th, there was a corrected version and then the March 2025 version. If you could go through those for us.
Sure. Yes. Okay, so I'll go through the February 6th, 2025 version first, or the new version for payroll.
There was only one correction.
I was going to say there's only one correction for that, and that was for staff, January 2025 for staff and commissioners. That was the only correction in that, which was approved, I believe, at our last meeting. We just had a correction to it. Correct, Debbie? Correct.
Is that right? Just to correct the
Yep.
document? Okay. I would entertain a motion then to accept the February 6th claims as amended. There was one small line item change under staff payroll.
Yes.
It's almost, actually, it's less money, not more, which is unusual. I would entertain a motion, please.
I'd like to make the motion to accept the claims as corrected from February the 6th as presented today.
Second.
We have a motion, a second to accept the amended claims for February 6th, 2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion has carried. Thank you. Then could you go ahead and do the claims for this month?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
This is the claims for 10th of March, 2025. We have payroll for January 2025. That's CDBG reimbursables, staff and commissioners. From our operating account, we have corporate payment systems for Illinois Toll Road for tolls traveling to a conference. We have the Great American Financial for copier fees for 2025. Great American Financial for copier fees of Great American Financial for copier fees for January 2025. Great American Financial for copier fees for February of 2025, and Saranac Law Offices for legal retainer for February of 2025. From the North TIF, we have August Mack for 2023 activities at Trail Creek Properties, Begley and Concord, from 11/25/2024 through 1/2/25. We have Barnes and Thornburg for legal services, redevelopment and economic development matters, ending in 1/31/2025. Barnes and Thornburg for legal services for Bloxham, ending in 1/31/2025. LaPorte City Project Management for replacement of damaged garage doors at the former Chrysler Building at Michigan and 11th. We also have NIPSCO for electric service for EV stations at 8th Street as of 3/4/2025. Reith Riley Construction for the Franklin Street two-way conversion 2024 CCMG Division 1 Pay App 1. Saranac Law Offices for legal services from the North TIF for February 2025. The Chicago Consultants for consulting at 5th and Pine Street Development 2/1/2025 through 2/28/2025. Wallach Summers and Haas for legal services at Tryon Meadows for 12/15/24 through 12/29/2024. Wallach Summers and Haas for legal services for the You Are Beautiful 12/2/24 through 12/7/24, and Wallach Summers and Haas for legal services at You Are Beautiful for 1/15/2025. From our South TIF, we had Global Engineering for engineering CCMG 2025-1 12/2/24 through 1/31/2025. Saranac Law Offices for legal services from the South TIF February 2025. On our 2023 mixed-use transit project bond, we had Flaherty and Collins for disbursement request number 15 from construction account.
Are there any questions or comments about the claims document for March 10th, 2025? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve March 10th, 2025 claims as presented.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the claims for the Department of Redevelopment for March 10th, 2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion has carried. Thank you. Next, we have the financial report. Just give us an update.
No,
Let me use
I
mine.
don't have it on here. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. This is the MC Department of Redevelopment balance sheet for 1/31/2025. From our cash operating account, we have $419,270.09. On our Southside TIF account, we have $8,453,746.52. On our Southside TIF debt on our Southside TIF debt reserve account, we have $336,308.50. In our Southside TIF capital account, we have $16,199.79. In our North End TIF account, we have $3,322,986.60. In our East Side TIF, we have $679,416.61. In our Northeast TIF account, we have $1,229,200.68. From our loans receivable, we have a county business loan fund with $94,829.59 for total assets of $14,551,958.38.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to accept the balance sheet as presented.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the balance sheet for January 31st, 2025 as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion, a second to accept the balance sheet for the Michigan City Department of Redevelopment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you. Next, we have public comment. Anyone from the public who wishes to speak at this time, please feel free to come up. Come on, you got nothing? Welcome.
Hello. I'm Chris Plunk,
Stephanie Sullivan.
and we do the Nightingale. I know we've talked to some of you guys last month. We talked to Skylar a little bit. And we just wanted to talk about the riverfront.
May I ask that you go to the microphone just so that the public
Okay.
can hear you on the recording?
To talk about the riverfront, for the liquor licensing and all that. So we've been doing it since October of last year, doing events and stuff, and we've been fortunate enough to like partner with some other local businesses to do events to be able to serve the alcohol. But we're hoping that someday we can get our own. As of right now, there's none available through the state or anything that's out there, so we're hoping for the riverfront to be extended past, because we're just outside the limit by not very far, but
What is your location?
We're at 1108 Franklin Street. So we're just,
The old Moose,
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
Lodge, yeah.
the most, yeah, okay.
yeah, so we're in the downstairs area there, so.
Okay.
But we're just, I mean, it's a really neat spot. It's, we're trying to bring like a lot of jazz and blues is basically what we're trying to bring more of
Mhm.
to the area. There's not really that available
Thank you.
in the area. And I mean, it's just a lot of people that have come in have talked about how it's a lot like a spot in downtown Chicago or something. So we're just really
In support of that
Yeah.
extension.
in support of the extension. Yeah.
Well, it's definitely, your business has definitely created a buzz in town. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
People are talking about it, and that's always a good thing. So we have discussed ways to address that concern. I don't know, Skylar, if you want to speak to that or
Sure. Yes, Ms. President. We have taken into consideration, I believe I've provided we've talked about it. And then I think I've I know I have provided Alan with some, an updated structure, simplifying our rules, our process, because right now it's convoluted would probably be an understatement of it, so that we can hand it out readily, and also talking about the expansion where they're at. A few years ago, we didn't have a TIF district there, so now we do have a TIF district. You may recall when we joined the South TIF and the North TIF, this specific location is now inside a TIF district, and it would meet the qualifications, but we would have to adjust our rules to reflect that district, if you will.
What is the address?
1108 Franklin.
Understand that and that's Skylar, I was gonna ask you this, but understand that the length or the boundaries of the riverfront district are set by statute.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're stuck with. But I think what we're talking, when you and I have talked enough about this, that they're in the,
They're right inside of it. It doesn't go all the way. It's only 3,000 feet, but the issue is that you have to tick the different boxes, and it's like, okay, I'm in 3,000 feet, but I'm not in a redevelopment area.
now you're
Now you're in a redevelopment area, so you're in 3,000 feet. So you have to tick the different boxes.
So our plan is that my plan is that I will get something to the commission during the course of the next month, which we should hopefully act on in April, at the April meeting. And one of those areas is to expand the district so that it obviously would include you by just being in there now. So then you'd be eligible at that point. So
Okay.
give us a month and we'll.
Yeah,
we'll have
great.
something.
Great.
thank you for bringing
We
it back up
appreciate it,
to our attentions. You know, sometimes the squeaky wheel does get the oil.
Madam President, Tracy had, I think, a question.
Okay.
Not quite familiar, but I'm just curious, would that not fall under possibly or consideration for a two-way liquor license?
Yes, if they're available, but yes, they probably could get a two-way license. I believe you guys have looked at that.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
The issue lies in that if you take the two-way, so these new liquor licenses or our municipal liquor licenses, I think, have a clause in them where you can't have a liquor license for a time frame prior to getting it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's a little
So that would kind of disqualify them, or they'd have to wait a time frame to then reapply. So it might hinder their
Right.
opportunity.
Right.
I would also say,
Try to just go straight for the three-way.
Yeah.
hopefully, when that becomes available.
I would also say that some of the things we've talked about along with this was originally there would be an establishment of a downtown dining district fund as part of this, and that's something that we at the mayor's level have been looked to provide that to establish that as part of this kind of revamp of this liquor license application. So that's something, Tracy, I'm looking at you. We'll probably have something to bring to the council if we do elect to change these laws or change these rules.
Thank you very much for
Thank you.
bringing
you guys
those
very much.
comments up.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak at this time? Anyone on Zoom? I don't see anyone. All right, at this time, we close public comment. Let's move on to letter of engagement for Barnes and Thornburg for Tryon Meadows project.
Yeah.
Who is? Oh, Randy's on. Okay. Randy, are you on to discuss this? from Barnes and Thornburg? There you are. On the table, we have a letter of engagement for Barnes and Thornburg for the Tryon Meadows project. Is there someone from Barnes and Thornburg who would like to speak to this proposal?
So let me kind of tee it up if he's not there. Oh, here he is.
Yes, I am here. Sorry, I've actually headed to another meeting, but I saw it on the agenda, so I thought I would jump on in case there were questions.
Let me tee this up, Randy, and then we'll see if anyone's got questions. So this is a letter of engagement for Randy to basically take us through the process of establishing the housing TIF that we've been discussions with Tryon Meadows, which is you may recall they made a presentation to us. We have entered into an economic development agreement with them. To date, they have closed on the land. They're following through with their pieces. The next pieces that we need to do as a commission are start the process of establishing the housing TIF, which would go through a similar process as a regular TIF, which would require action by the Redevelopment Commission and then going to council and then back to the Redevelopment Commission. This is for Randy to create those documents and start that process. Randy, if I misspoke, please correct me.
Nope, that's a perfect explanation, Skylar. Thank you.
What do you need from the commission?
Just approval to enter into this because Randy would need to start the process of Alan, anything I missed?
Just the only thing that would be different from what we've previously done and why we need another letter of engagement is that all our other letters of engagement with Randy have been as bond counsel.
Yeah.
In this one, because there is a
Correct.
TIF bond that is that we approve them, we give them access, but they're ultimately the developer are the ones who actually end up paying off the bond based on the TIF proceeds. Because of that, they've requested to use their own bond counsel. Skylar and I, because of our familiarity with Randy, as well as this commission's familiarity with Randy, as well as the city council's familiarity with Randy, we wanted Randy to continue to be involved in this process from the trust viewpoint. But he's not doing it as bond counsel, but rather he's being as a special counsel and advisory role on this entire project.
He's basically making sure that whatever's being created on the opposite side is statutorily incorrect and is good for the city so that he can give us an opinion that, yes, we are good to go.
Thank you. All right, at this time, then I would entertain a motion to support the letter of, do you have a question? I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Support the letter of engagement with Barnes and Thornburg as advisors to the Redevelopment Commission and the city for the Tryon Meadows project.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the letter of engagement for Barnes and Thornburg for Tryon Meadows project.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Great. We have a motion and a second on the letter of engagement for Barnes and Thornburg. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion has carried. Thank you. Yes, of course.
In regards to everything that Attorney Allison just indicated, just for public understanding, in regards to counsel that's doing for both sides. In other words, there's a waiver of certain potential conflict of interest. In other words, there is no conflict of interest because I know that's going to be a question that's going to be probably asked at the council meeting, that there's no conflict in this. Because it's probably going to be posed as, well, if he's doing it for this company, for this project, and now he's going to oversee for this as well. That will probably be a question posed to the council, like, how is that happening? Is
Okay.
that allowable? I just want, for the record, it will not be a conflict of interest.
No.
Okay. Alan, do you have anything you want to throw in on that?
Big no.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, the motion is carried. So let's move on to the MOU between the city and the Redevelopment Commission for 2025 landscaping services rendered by the Vector Control Department.
Yes.
Skylar, could you just summarize? for us?
Absolutely. I'll be very quick. We may recall that we talked about this, I believe, at our last meeting. We have been doing this for the past 2 years. Well, this will be our second year. It worked out very well. It actually saved us money and it allowed us to put people to work as well as to kind of expand city services throughout the city. This would be for $95,000 for the vector services, and this is the official MOU with the document that accompanied it that has all of our properties on it. So this is the official document that they will use to mow our properties. I've also added in some properties that we will be receiving, and I'm working with Attorney LePage. Alan and I both are working with Attorney LePage to transfer those properties into care of the Redevelopment Commission.
And just to add, it's not only mowing, but it's also picking up the refuse, and keeping trees, trim limbs up to the height of 10 feet and a growth at their base, blowing debris, et cetera. That's always a question, especially around the Meyer property.
Yep.
So just wanted to mention that.
No, it's a great comment. I would say that our vector control, out of all, I think they do really good.
Yeah,
They pick up our trash, don't just mow over it and blow it into a million pieces. And they try to keep Myers Drive as clean as they possibly can. I know people don't like the fence there, but it does help them a whole lot because they don't have to go so far out to the wetland. So.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve the MOU between the city and the Redevelopment Commission for landscaping services with vector control.
I'd like to make the motion to accept the landscaping MOU between the city and the Redevelopment Commission for vector control to provide services for the next year.
Second.
Great. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion has carried. Thank you. Next, we have the August MAC proposal for environmental services related to the former Begley Concord Cleaners site.
Yeah. Alan, do you want to set the stage?
She's there. Hi, Paula.
Hello. Sorry, I was rebooting as it went to a panelist. So
Before Paula Warren is the I guess coordinator, project manager of our Trail Creek cleanups, has been for well,
Okay.
a long time. Let's put it that way. Paula and I are very familiar with each other. As you just kind of, rather than go through the whole history, as you may recall, we put the trench interceptor in last year as what was hopefully going to be the final step towards getting IDEM closure on this property so then we can move on towards development. The goal was that when the trench interceptor was put in last spring, I want to say, then there were to be 2 rounds of testing, one in the what they call the winter season. So we've already, I'm sorry, the summer season first, which has occurred, and then the winter season, which we did the first round of that early in February, if I remember right. And then I had one disappointment from the results, not glaring disappointment, but certainly necessitates another round of testing. And Paul, I'll hand it off to you to tell me what I've missed.
yeah, no, that pretty much sums it up. There was a small result that we were not expecting to see. So we just kind of want to delineate that through the new section of the pipe when other waters kind of combine into it to see if it's going to be an issue or not. Because there's a possibility that if the levels are low in the rest of the samples, or resample it and all of them are below, then that would be a great path forward. And then we can continue on our path of doing the remediation completion report, and requesting closure from the state.
And Paula, specifically, where did I know you did a series of tests, most of which came back fine and dandy. The
Yep.
one though that did not, where was that?
They were there was 2. They were on the south side of East 8th Street near Michigan Road. So along the laterals from where the mostly abandoned houses came in to it. Those laterals were reinstated and as requested. And we think that's probably where these levels are coming from. It's not a lot of water trickling in through there. So I'm hopeful that as it combines with other water, it won't continue to be a risk.
And overall, with the other testing that's been done, if it weren't for this particular area, we'd be ready for closure and we'd be ready for getting
Correct.
IDEM sign off. And then
Yep, we did sampling all through the neighborhood on the sewers, in other areas, and they all came back well below screening levels.
And if and when is the second round of this next round of testing scheduled for?
This month, I forget the actual date. I
Okay, but
believe it's in the next week or two if we get approval.
And then if we get the positive results we expect, when do we submit a report to IDEM?
Yep.
I know they're supposed to give us response within 60 days. What do we anticipate they're getting a response from back to us?
Unfortunately, this project manager at IDEM tends to be a little slow, and I just learned that he has been sick. So I will still stay on top of it, but 60 to 180 days for this type of report is standard.
Everybody else has questions, but that's basically the request tonight. That is the additional funding, which we didn't anticipate having a positive test result. The change order or the additional funding request is specifically to carry out that testing, which obviously is necessary to close this thing out.
Paul, if I may, this is necessary if we move forward with the piece of land at the intersection of 8th and the Boulevard. I know it wasn't on that specific piece of land, but for the commission's sake, we have to get a no further action kind of from IDEM in order to move forward with a development there, and that's what we've elected to do. And so that's the importance of this. We really need that no further action from IDEM, and we need to start it as soon as possible.
And for the record, the total request is for $44,800.
Yeah, I was going to just mention that.
So, sorry, Paula.
Oh, that's okay. To piggyback on what you said, Skylar, the additional samples include samples on that development parcel.
Yes. Thank you for clarifying that.
All right, so for our consideration, we have the August MAC proposal for engineering services in a scope estimate of $44,800 for the former Begley Concord Cleaner site on Michigan Boulevard. I would entertain a motion unless someone has questions.
I would like to make a motion for the August MAC proposal for environmental services related to the former Bagley and Concord cleaning site for the scope estimated amount for $44,800.
Thank you. We have a
I'd like second.
Okay, perfect. We have a motion and a second to approve the August MAC proposal for environmental services. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Warren.
Next, we have authorized Global Engineering to prepare and submit an annual maintenance plan report to NDOT for I-94 and 421.
So this is just our annual report or our annual maintenance plan as part of the betterment for the overpass, the south overpass on 421. Every year they have to submit this to IDEM. I'm not sure how long we have to do this. I don't know if it's indefinitely, but we have to submit and basically just. I'm sorry, I'm not IDEM, NDOT. Sorry, I had IDEM on my mind. NDOT. So every year Global prepares this for us. I go with them and I stick with them because they've done it every year. They know how to do it. They know what to inspect. They know who to submit through and all those things. Typically it's around, I think, $3,000 to do that, but they'll send an engineer out to put that together and submit it, and then they'll work with Mr. Tim Warner on any corrections or things that could be changed, just say. And with that being said, I do know that the lights are out there. We have instructed them to, I think, turn the lights off for right now, while we look for an alternative for the halo effect around the Michigan City. So,
Thank you.
but that would be part of the maintenance plan.
May I have a motion to authorize Global Engineering to prepare and submit the annual maintenance plan for NDOT?
I'd like to make the motion to authorize Global Engineering to prepare, submit the annual maintenance plan report to NDOT for the I-94 and 421 overpass due by March 31st.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize Global Engineering to do the plan report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have SOLA updates and approvals. The SOLA property is often discussed in this community, so we'd love to hear the updates.
Uh,
Mhm.
I guess I'll let Alan start so we can get through it, and I'll fill in any blanks.
We're going to be doing this. I think everything we do is solar between now and at the end of June, or at least end of June, is going to be kind of piecemeal process because there are piecemeal process for funding sources.
So Alan, before you start, just for those who are tuning in and might not know what SOLA is, could you describe the parcel?
It's a roughly $300 million project that's being undertaken by the Solar Group out of Chicago. That is going to be a public-private garage for apartments and townhouses and apartments also. We have apartments in this one too, or not? Or
No, this has no apartments. It's
Yeah,
90, it's condos and hotels and a few townhouses. There's no apartments. Everything is market rate. Everything is yeah, it's about a $311 million project. And it is located at the former news dispatch and police station, which is directly adjacent to City Hall.
Thank you.
Part of the funding that we're doing, and this is called, is require us to create NEID, and I keep saying EID, and those Economic Improvement District.
Correct.
And an economic improvement district is something new for the city. It's a relatively new redevelopment tool. It's created by the state. But one of the requirements of an EID to float EID bonds, which again will be paid for by the developer, by the occupants of the development. We need to have, the EID statute requires that to do so, you have to have at least 60% of the ownership and 60% of the assessed evaluation be by a private owner. And obviously with the city owning the entirety of that block, that parcel or those parcels, we do not qualify as a private entity. So to comport with the law, we, in conjunction with the Economic Development Corporation, because they have done this previously, they are creating two private entities, which the city then will convey these two parcels totaling in excess of the 60% requirement to these two private entities for a period of time of somewhere estimated between 120 and 180 days. The idea, again, the requirement is it has to be privately owned, and what that will then, during the period of time of the 120 days to 180 days, will allow the developer to continue to work on getting their funding in order, which they continue to do. But at the same time, in the event they do get their funding in order, then the way the agreement is being drawn up with the entities is that the Redevelopment Commission will direct them to, assuming the funding is in order, convey those properties to the developer, to the Solar Group. In the event they are not able to get their funding, complete funding that's necessary for this project, then the commission will direct the two entities to convey that property back to ownership with the Redevelopment Commission. The reason for doing it this way is just the simplicity of it. We met, Skylar and I met with the part of the EDC board on Thursday or Friday of last week. And basically it's we could do it other ways. This is without a doubt the most economically efficient and the easiest in terms of where to direct those properties once we have determination of SOLA's funding level.
So it's basically, just to put it in layman's terms, it's a holding corporation to
Yes.
keep that property safe.
Correct.
Perfect.
It's in the simplest form, yes.
Yes, that's
Okay.
exactly it.
And then a reversion back to us if
Something goes awry. Okay.
yeah, and this allows us to move the EID forward as well. Right now, we're kind of in the just beginning stages of that. This allows us to start the clock ticking, because once we do our first determination on establishing the EID, we have 120 days to establish it. It has a time frame on it. So hence why it kind of runs consecutively with the time frames.
And ultimately, Tracy, this is going to come back to you. So
Yes.
just giving you forewarning again.
Are there any questions for either Skylar or our attorney? We have discussed this just so that we understood the concept. So so everyone is clear that we've had an opportunity to ask some questions and get a clear understanding. But, just to make sure that people realize we're not giving city property to anyone. We are creating a holding space for that in order to keep the taxpayers' property safe. And once we know the outcome in 180 days, we will then be able to make the appropriate move on behalf of the taxpayer. I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution number 2025, a resolution of the City of Michigan City Redevelopment Commission regarding the Sola Site Development Project Agreement as described.
I'd like to make the motion to accept the resolution number 2025, a resolution of the City of Michigan City Redevelopment Commission regarding the Solar Site Development Project Agreement as presented. Support.
Thank you. We have a motion and a motion of support, second for this Michigan City Redevelopment Commission's agreement regarding the Sola Site Development Project. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion has carried. Thank you. Is there anything else we need to share with the public or discuss regarding SOLA? Any updates?
I would just say we're still moving forward with everything. We did execute an RDA in December, and we are still moving forward with both parties are moving forward with their obligations to achieve that RDA.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, let's move on to the 11th Street Station Garage and any residential tower updates or garage updates.
I don't have too many right now with that. It's moving right along. I think with the good weather we've been having, I think I even saw the crane moving on Saturday, so they're working to get it done. I do think they're looking at an April date for the garage to open, which is very exciting from my standpoint. I can't wait to see it, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. They are putting the historic facade back on. I think I've given the update on that a little bit, but it's coming right along on so the historic train station facade that was originally there has been restored and is going back on the front of the building, and you'll be able to, that will be where you walk into the train station.
Great, thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we have report from our legal counsel. Do you have any other items to report on?
Only other thing is is just that there was an executive session before this meeting. No items were discussed, not permitted by the open door law, and no decisions were made.
Thank you. Next, we have a report from our director.
Yes, thank you. So tonight, I know we spoke about this a little earlier. Tonight, I do have a request that I would like to bring to you, and it is for some extra help. As you know, I've taken over the Redevelopment Commission strictly, but it's just me and Debbie in that position, and there's a lot of projects. As you start outlining these projects that are coming down the pipeline, there's a lot of moving parts. To give you an example, One project that I'm working on right now has 4 different parts and a lot of different people involved in it. And so to be able to start managing those projects a little bit more dynamically. So what I'm asking for from the commission tonight is a not to exceed number for consulting to help us do project management, also to look at getting us some software, maybe looking into software for some project management software, which we've never really had. And with that, I'm going to ask Wendy to come up and introduce. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and then also kind of go into kind of what we're looking at.
Absolutely. My name is Wendy Vacher. I am the new Public Works Director here for the city. Very excited to be here. Obviously, I've met all of you a little bit earlier. And yes, the request that Skylar is mentioning was something that I actually brought to the table as well, as these sophisticated and complicated projects, which we can handle in the city. It really requires more of an ability to do more detailed scheduling, making sure that all the pieces and the parts are understood, especially on the public side with the public processes and how they'll be going through the council and coming back through this commission, and eventually going all the way through the project development process. And I do believe this money will be well spent. You will all be able to see, as well as the public will better understand how these complex projects move, what schedule risks they are, and how much time and energy the project development process takes. And I think that also helps the developers show that we are sophisticated and able to do this, and looking forward to doing even more complex projects as we move forward.
Exactly.
Absolutely. It's easy for me to say how all these things work, but for the public to explain it or to really articulate it to the public is sometimes very complicated and complex.
And to show it visually.
And to show it visually and also to keep track. It's gotten very complicated. We are a complex, growing community, and we need to move and use technology to assist us.
And so we shall. I am here to help and help Skylar and a whole lot of other folks at the city do what they do well, and all entities. So I look forward to working with all of you more and to seeing some of these projects become successful into fruition, just like what's going on with the garage and the apartments and the investments in TOD and other economic development projects. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So
Madam
do you have
Chair.
go
I
ahead.
just want to re-echo what Wendy said. There's a lot of these projects have multiple layers. And so as we start new ones, you got to maintain all the other ones that are tracking. And so working closer with Scholar, sometimes it gets difficult with all the papers we have to look at, and sometimes you get lost in some of the projects. So I think having proper scheduling and software that can do multi-layer scheduling is very, very helpful.
Great. So I would ask again what our not to exceed
I think we
amount is.
set that amount at $60,000 for right now.
Okay. So this request, and I would entertain a motion, is for not to exceed $60,000 to provide project management and technical support for the redevelopment commission plan in our planning processes. Pardon me?
That's very good. That's exactly what.
She did very well.
I'd like to make the motion that we accept approving the 60,000 allocated for project management consulting and IT needs for the redevelopment commission and our director.
Thank you.
We have a motion. Do I have support?
Support.
Thank you. We have a motion and support for a not to exceed figure of $60,000 for project management and staff support and software. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. Anything else, Skylar?
The only other thing I have came in late, and it's from the city engineer, and it is for $3,500. And let me tell you what it is. And he's asking if we would entertain paying this. It is an extension of a trail. As you may recall, we built the Singing Sands Trail. The Singing Sands Trail right now traverses 12. It was actually supposed to go under 12 and go through Taylor Street at a time. The right-of-way is there, and engineer Tim Warner believes that the right-of-way is there. in order to poke a trail through to go under to tap Taylor Street and really start bringing people under that and connecting in a different manner. He would like to establish that. Right now, there's a lot of dumping going on underneath the area there, underneath the overpass. A lot of dumping, a lot of encampments, things like that. And really what we've created is really an attractive place to kind of do that. He believes that with maybe poking the trail under in creative spaces where people can walk under, connect, things of that nature, that it would dynamically change that. He's already spoke to the state about this because there's an abutment there. But what he needs is approval to stake the property at its points and find out, do I have 15 feet here to connect with a piece of pavement to go through there? I believe he does. He believes he does, but we've got to stake it out and make sure that it's logical and that it truly does exist. That's what he's asking for. I don't have his proposal with me tonight, but I have seen his proposal, and I do know that 3,500 is what has come back from the consultant, and it would be Thate GLE Engineering that would be doing that consulting. So if you'd entertain that, I would ask. I could get them going, and then obviously this isn't going to pay for the trail, but it would at least get it staked and let him make a decision and maybe come back to us at a net. What we're trying to do is piggyback this onto our paving contracts that are being let right now, that we can go ahead and get an economic of scale here.
That's right.
And just for the record, this is for the continuation or an extension of the Singing Sands Trail, correct?
Correct. Of which we have proposed, we have basically done all the engineering for and got it shovel ready. The redevelopment commission was integral in playing the role of getting that to shovel ready completeness.
And again, just for the record, that foundation that it was for redevelop purposes was already established, again, eons ago when we first started investing money in the Singing Sands.
Absolutely. I do believe this will continue economic development, bring people to our community, and it will definitely make it easier to get around the north end because even though the trail does go over 12, it is rather seen as a perceived barrier and a little bit unnerving to come across on a bicycle. I've rode it many times. So
I would entertain a motion.
I'd like to make the motion to accept the, for us to take in, provide the funding for $35,000.
nope, 3,500.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I looked down and missed it. For 3,500. Yeah, that'd be very expensive surveying, but, yeah, for 3,500, for, surveying the right-of-way boundary lines.
Thank
For
you.
Second.
We have a motion to support, and that's $3,500 for surveying, and thank Mr. Werner for his leadership. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Or
No, Madam President.
you're tired? Yeah, right.
He'll be back now. That's the thing, Remember that extra money?
All right. Next on the agenda, we have commissioners' comments. Are there any comments from any commissioners?
I just wanted to make a comment. I forgot to bring it up earlier. So with our fencing at Meyer, I've been meaning to recommend the next time we need to repair it. They make, and it's for actually for highway bridges, for where they keep for people jumping. It's a pedestrian barrier. They make a reflective thing that'll lace through.
Okay.
Or we could use the same reflective ones that bolt them to the supports that we have on our stop signs here in the city. And that should help
Yes.
because at nighttime, you don't see it at all.
No, good call. And I will definitely, I mean, if we wanted to, let me do some research onto that.
Yeah.
And let me ask Tim about that. And I feel like we should go as many times as it's been hit. I feel like we should just preemptively just do this. So let me see how much that costs.
Thank you.
So I'll just ask the question. So how is it getting hit? So this is what I happen to notice. And of course I was not, under the influence. So, okay. But as you're coming around that way, and I can see if they're sleepy or they're under the influence, you don't notice it because at nighttime
It's black.
it's black.
Yeah.
And it just melts away. But of course we want it to melt away because we don't want it. I mean, it would be ugly if it was
Yeah.
a regular. There is.
Yes, there is.
But when you hit at an angle when you're driving,
Right up on.
yeah, just like.
Just some kind of reflectors or
Yeah.
something. That's good, good.
I think,
Yeah.
I think that's a
Thank
great
you.
idea. I
That
didn't
is a
even,
great idea.
I didn't even know they made, I mean, I just hadn't thought about it, but yeah.
Great. All right. Any other commissioners have any comments? All right. Our next meeting date is April 14th, 2025. At this time, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone.